I played 100 Days in Stardew Valley for the first time. This is also the first video game I ever played, besides Mario Bros. In the Super Nintendo, of course. So you'll see me struggling a lot. Learning the controls, killing my crops, and failing in every way you can imagine. After the first few days, I set some goals for myself. Reach the bottom of the mines, make at least one friend, adopt tons of animals, and become a master at fishing. By the way, you can check the timestamp below if you already seen my first month already. Welcome to my first 100 days in Stardew Valley. On day 1, I had to name my farm. I named it after my cat, Coco, and of course, I chose the black cat for my animal preference. There were so many options for customization. I have to say, the beard actually didn't look too bad on me. After deciding on my look, I had to choose a farm. Since it was my first time, I went for the standard option and began my journey. It all started with my grandfather leaving me a letter. He told me to open it when life became overwhelming. Years later, on a regular day at the office, I was too stressed out. Couldn't take it anymore, and I opened the letter. Turns out, my grandpa left me a farm. This was the opportunity to change my life. And so, I decided to quit my office job and took a bus to the valley. As I stepped off the vehicle, I was greeted by Robin, the local carpenter. Then, we went to see my farm, Coco Farm. I was overwhelmed by the state it was in. Tons of work to do. Then, Lewis, the mayor of Pelican Town, welcomed me. Everyone was so nice, except for Robin, who criticized my house. Exhausted from the trip, I went to have some rest. Now, the first real day in my farm begins. Day 1. I woke up to the sound of a rooster and found a gift on the floor. 15 parsnip seeds from Mayor Lewis. I also realized I had a TV where I could check the weather. Tomorrow was going to be a clear, sunny day. I stepped outside and started to get familiar with the controls, clearing the weeds around me. While doing this, I passed by an abandoned ruined house, and right beside it, there was an entrance to a cave. Going inside, it was a bit creepy. There was nothing there to do. After that, I grabbed my axe and started chopping fallen logs. I also used my pickaxe to break some stones, clearing some space in front of my house to plant the parsnip seeds the mayor gave me. I struggled a bit trying to hit the stones accurately. I think it's pretty clear by now, I'm not a gamer. I wanted my farm to look aesthetic, but let's just say I was still getting used to the controls. After all, I was an office worker, not a farmer. I started planting the seeds in the soil very professionally, ending up with more holes than I needed. Then I tried watering the seeds. It took me a while to actually hit the right spots. I had better luck using the arrow keys instead of the joystick. After nearly emptying my watering can, I finally managed to water all the seeds. Now it was time to visit the town. The first place I entered was a store, but no one seemed to be at the counter. There was a door at the back which I went through and met with Caroline. She told me her husband owned the store and that they had a daughter named Abigail with purple hair. I was so eager to explore that I didn't realize I had just walked into a stranger's home. I tried looking around more, but I needed to earn Abigail's trust to enter her room. Stepping out of the store, I realized it was completely dark. Before heading home, I stopped by the saloon. There were a few people inside, so I bought myself a beer. Turns out, I could also sit at the bar. I talked to Pam, another woman who seemed like a regular there. Drinking my beer gave me extra energy. I even started glowing. Then, I met Clint, the blacksmith. He told me he could upgrade my tools. Exploring the saloon a bit more, I found some arcade machines. One of them had a skull-shaped keyhole. Surprisingly, the other machine was playable. My coordination wasn't great, probably because of the beer. I got so caught up playing that it got really late. So late that I was the only one left in the saloon. And so, I left the place and went home to sleep, finishing my first day in Stardew Valley. The next morning, I realized I'd received a message. Willie, the fisherman, said he had something for me at the beach. I opened the map and checked how to get there. I almost forgot to water the plants. After all, I never claimed to be a farmer. Maybe I had to move back to the city. I took care of the plants, cut down a few small trees, cleared some undergrowth, trying to remember which tool was for what. Without stopping, I took out wood, stones, everything. And then all my energy was gone. I started to feel sluggish, moving slower, and out of nowhere, I passed out. I woke up the next day in my bed at 6 a.m. It was raining, and I got another mail. Someone found me unconscious. Turns out I was robbed. I just moved in and already lost money. Wow, leaving that behind, I was in love with the rain. It saved me from watering the plants, and it looked pretty romantic. Taking advantage of the weather, I started searching for the beach to meet Willie. On the way, I picked up a daffodil. And then I met Shane, but he was really rude. The rain wasn't as romantic as I thought. I think I'm going back to the city soon. Arriving at the beach, I talked with Willie. He gave me a fishing rod and told me about his shop, where he sold some supplies. Fishing was harder than I expected. I spent some time figuring out how it worked. It was very relaxing to fish under the rain though. The minigame wasn't easy, but I managed to catch my very first fish. Unfortunately, I ran out of room in my inventory. Had to throw away some clay. Checking Willie's store, I sold him the fish and bought a training rod. I thought I would have an easier time with it, but I couldn't catch a thing. I am definitely not good at fishing. I explored the beach to see if there was anything interesting to see. I found some clams, but my inventory was full again. Had to throw away some fiber to grab them. Close by, I stumbled upon a question mark. It was a small broken bridge that could be fixed with 300 pieces of wood. I also tried to enter a house, but I couldn't because I wasn't friends with idiots. Nobody wants to be my friend. I took one last look at the beach before leaving. My next big problem to solve was my inventory. I had no space. Looking through the different menus, I found out that I could craft a chest for 50 pieces of wood. The thing was, I didn't have enough energy to get that many. Then, by mistake, I discovered the objectives menu. One mission was to grow a parsnip. The other was to talk to all 28 people in the valley. I had a lot to do. Walking through the town, I entered the museum where I met Gunther. He told me that he didn't have any artifacts on display and asked me to bring him any minerals or artifacts I found. Looking at the library, there seemed to be a book missing. Before leaving, I rested in front of the fire to get warm. Exploring the town further, I discovered Joja Mart. It looked like a modern supermarket. I could buy different things like seeds and stuff. I also met Morris, a Joja employee. He offered me a membership, but I didn't like it at all. It sounded like a scam, so I left. I spent the rest of the day learning the layout of the place, going up some stairs, walking alongside the river, watching a waterfall. I even found an abandoned old building with pines, and next to it, a playground. I was able to ride a duck and sit on the swings. It was a long day, so I went home to have some sleep. On day 4, I read a new message. It was an advertisement. Someone named Pierre sold backpacks that could increase my inventory. Before anything else, I was going to take care of my farm, to do what I came for. Forget about my old bosses and make new friends. Maybe if I make my place look nice, people will like me. As my inventory was full again, I sold some stuff and started cutting wood. I realized I was really good at it, as opposed to having friends. Now with the necessary amount, I was finally able to craft a chest and place it inside my home to avoid getting robbed again. Wasn't a very safe neighborhood after all. I loved that I could choose the color of the chest. I went for pink. After storing the materials and tools that I didn't need, I went into town to look for something to eat and met some new people. I talked a bit with Caroline and then found some sort of calendar on a wall. It was marked with the dates of birthdays, festivals, events, and even question marks. In 3 days, it was going to be Louis' birthday. I had to prepare a present for him. I didn't. After that, I met Maru. I like her very much. She was the only one who seemed to care about me. I continued my search for food. Looking around the store, I found the backpack I read about before, but it cost 2,000 coins. I needed to get to work. The store owner told me I could buy seeds here and also sell him my crops directly. His name caught my attention. Pierre. Unfortunately, his working hours were over, so I couldn't buy anything from him. Without giving up my search for food, I went to the saloon. This place had a nice variety of food. There were even recipes to buy. I wanted to get a salad, since I love eating them, but I couldn't afford it. Nonetheless, I wouldn't surrender. I sneaked inside a mobile home while someone was sleeping to see if I could steal some food from the kitchen. The fridge was full of empty beer bottles, not much else. I went to check another building, but it was closed. I'm not even good at stealing things or having friends. Sad and hungry, I went back to sleep. Fortunately, I leveled up. My X proficiency went up. I got almost 200 coins for the things I sold that day. It wasn't much, but it is a start. On day 5, my plants were ready. I picked them up one by one. The bad news was, I forgot to water one of them, but it didn't matter. I got my first crops. That day, I also had a letter from Mart saying that they removed a landslide caused by a drilling operation near the Monza Lake. No idea where that is. I headed to town to sell my stuff to Pierre, but then Mayor Lewis showed me the town's community center, the building I saw before. It was important to fix it up because he didn't want to sell the land to Mart. I swore to never become a member of Joja. Going inside, the place was a mess. I even saw some weird thing in there. It looked like a ghost, in the shape of an apple. Louis didn't believe me. He even left me. Maybe I scared him. I will never have friends. Going inside one of the rooms, I found a writing in a mysterious language. Strange. Getting out of the community center, I had a quick chat with Maru, grabbed a couple of daffodils, and sold everything at the store. Getting more than 800 coins, I bought a few of each seed. I couldn't decide which just one. Going back to Coco Farm, I began to prepare the soil, trying to do something a little more aesthetic than my first try. But I ended up making something more like a Tetris farm. This time, I leveled up farming, gaining proficiency with the watering can and the hoe. On day 6, I woke up with a message from a wizard. He knew I was at the community center. He invited me to his chambers, located at the west of the forest lake, in the stone tower. After planting my new seeds and getting everything ready at the farm, I left in search of this wizard. I headed south. Suddenly, one of the rocks dropped a geode. The local blacksmith could help me with this. I finally arrived at the tower. The magician's name was Rasmodius. He showed me the same ghosts I saw before, that were called Junimos. There were mysterious spirits who refused to speak with the wizard. There was no reason to fear them. I told him about the scroll I found back at the community center. After teleporting there and reading it himself, he told me he managed to decipher it. The Junimos were asking for gifts to help the forest. After this, the wizard gave me something to drink from his cauldron. It seemed to give me energy, but that was not water. I got pretty high. Now I was able to read the Junimo scrolls. There seemed to be multiple bundles to complete, from things like spring and summer plants, exotic things, to forage bowls. Now I had a lot of stuff to work towards. It was overwhelming, but really exciting. Going north, I met with Demetrius. He was the father of Maru, my future friend. Demetrius was studying the plants and animals. I entered the nearby building, where I found Robin. She sold a lot of furniture, but I could also improve my house for 10,000 gold coins and over 400 pieces of wool. Even buy farm buildings, like coops, barns, wells, and tons more. I only had 5 coins. 5. Leaving the store, I picked up a leek from the ground, one of the items I needed from the spring bundle. Another person I met that day was Linus, a hermit who lived alone in a tent. I tried to give him a maple seed. He didn't like it very much. Heading west, I grabbed a wild horseradish, another plant I needed from the bundle. And not only that, I also discovered another way to get to my farm. For the rest of the night, I kept working on the farm, cutting trees, rocks, and looking for more geodes. On day 7, I was an expert at watering plants. Well, almost. I realized I had some maple tree seeds, so I planted them. With that done, I grabbed my geodes and headed to town. On the way, I came across a woodpecker, and next to it a bus, with a sign indicating it was going to the Calico Desert. Unfortunately, it was out of service. There was also a minecart, which didn't work either. Right after, I met with Sam. I think I overwhelmed him. Finally, I found the blacksmith, but it was closed. Wasn't my lucky day. After that, I met a little old lady named Evelyn. I love her. She was super nice, as opposed to Alex. Very rude. Then, I ran into my friend Maru. She asked me if I had a good time working at the farm. I was so excited and said yes. Then, I sat next to my new friends. Well, at least I could pretend they were. I kept meeting more people. Looking at my objectives, I earned 100 coins for completing one of them. Besides meeting everyone, a couple goals I had pending were to craft a scarecrow and build a coop. Then I discovered a cave. Inside, there was a man named Marlon. The place was an old mine shaft, abandoned. He said there was good ore down there, but that's not the only thing I will find. He gave me a rusty sword. Marlon ran the Adventurers Guild right outside. If I proved myself myself I could become a member. I had a new objective, reach level 5 in the mine. The elevator and the mine shaft were working, so I climbed down using an old ladder. On the second level, I discovered quartz, topaz, and copper ore. I was running out of energy, and midnight was approaching fast. I hurried home, finding a much faster route from the north. After collapsing into bed, I leveled up my mining skill, gaining pickaxe proficiency and unlocking a new crafting recipe. Rain was pouring down when I stepped outside. Clint was there, saying he heard I had found some ore. He handed me a furnace blueprint, explaining I would need it to make metal bars, specifically copper ones. With the sound of rain around me, I decided to clear more of my farm. While working, I found several geodes. Today, I decided to dedicate myself to mining stones. By noon, I had already run out of energy, so I grabbed the geodes and artifacts I headed into town. At the blacksmith, I handed Clint a geode, and he cracked it open, revealing 5 copper ore, limestone, and petrified slime. Eventually, I ran out of money to break open anymore. After that, I went to the museum. Gunter wanted to see what I found. He told me these artifacts were ancient. To study them more in detail, he asked if I could donate them. He said we could discover something incredible together, maybe even earn some rewards. I donated the petrified slime and earned over 200 coins. Then, I continued to hand out the rest of the items. I opened my map and decided to explore the northern parts I hadn't yet visited. Along the way, I picked up a leak and found the Adventurers Guild building, though only members could enter. Then I saw a large broken bridge. The next day, I received a message from Robin. She told me to consider buying a well for 1,000 coins. Too expensive. I already had a lake nearby. Didn't seem worth it. I watered my crops and headed back to the mines. Strangely, my ladder from before was gone, so I started mining rocks again. Going down, the first monster appeared. Swing after swing, I attacked it in an epic fight. I thought I wouldn't survive, but I finally defeated it and covering a ladder to level 3. There was not only one slime, but 3 of them. One by one, I defeated them too. I even found an amethyst. It was getting dark, but then a strange flying bug appeared. I fought it with my sword. Breaking open a wooden chest, I found cave carrots. Eating them gave me energy and health back. Finally, after mining even more rocks, I reached level 5. Things were different here. There were lantern lights on the walls, and best of all, an elevator. After killing the slimes, once again, my inventory was full. I really needed to get a backpack or something soon. I was running out of energy and it was getting late, so I decided to head back. On day 10, I got another message. Marlon said if I managed to kill 10 slimes, I would be allowed to become a member. I also realized that my parsnip was fully grown. I planned to give them away to make some friends. Shane was the first person I saw, but he wasn't worth my time. Near the truck, I found some little cows. They were so cute. I went back to the farm and worked for a while, clearing out more land. I also crafted a scarecrow and set it up, earning 100 gold. Then I built a furnace and used 5 copper ore and a piece of coal to smell my first copper bar. Later, I went back into the village to look for friends, but there was no one outside. I wandered alone in the rain. The efforts one makes to find friends. I went to the saloon. There were quite a few people there, so I sat down and started talking. Clint mentioned it was a good day to visit the mines. Maybe this weather was good to find rare ores. Emily talked about rumors of magical artifacts. She seemed a bit old, so I decided to walk away. Going outside with my gifts in hand, I hoped to find Maru, but I didn't see her anywhere. It was getting late, so I decided to give Leah the gift instead. She loved it. Then I gave another gift to Clint, but his reaction was more neutral. I stayed so long at the bar that I didn't manage to make it home in time. I passed out. The next day, I woke up with a notification. The bookseller was in town today. Going out, I saw petals all over the place. They were so beautiful. Checking my mailbox, there was a message from Robin. She lost her axe. If I found it, I would get over 200 pieces of gold. The last place she used it was south of Marnie's ranch. Close by, I found a dandelion, the last thing I needed from the bundle. Going inside the community center, I completed the spring foraging bundle. I won 30 seeds as a reward, also unlocking the pantry and the fish tank. More bundles to complete. With all these seeds, I headed back to my farm. On the way, I saw 2 kids trying to enter the sewer, but the entrance was locked. They said Gunter had the key, the man who ran the museum. The sewer was pretty scary. Something strange was in there. I went to visit Marnie. Her home was lovely. She sold animal supplies. I'm really looking forward to adopting more animals. Soon after, I ran into some kind of door. It said, only a master of the 5 ways may enter. No idea what that that was. But right next to it, I found Robin's missing eggs. I gave it to her. I won my first heart. With that done, I went back to my farm to plant my seeds. Didn't manage to water anything because it was too late. I went to sleep. This was the best day of my life. Marnie showed up at my house with a cat. I named him Coco. There was a message in the mailbox for the egg festival. It was tomorrow between 9 and 2 p.m. Watering the plants, I noticed the farm was getting bigger. It was harder to water everything. Once finished, I went to look for Coco. He was sleeping next to my bed, my favorite part of the day. I used all my money to buy as many seeds as possible. Forgetting about the aesthetics of the farm, I watered the new seeds, running out of energy at 5 p.m. Before passing out, I went to say hello to Coco, accidentally watering him. On day 13, my plants were ready, or so I thought. I messed it up. Trying to harvest them, I broke them instead. Twice! I still had to figure out the controls. Please be nice in the comments. The egg festival was starting in the town square. It was super cute. There were flamingos, plush bunnies, seasonal plants, all sort of stuff to buy. Tables with food too. I took the opportunity to talk with everyone. Later, the egg hunt began. Whoever catches the most wins. I managed to find 7. Unfortunately, I lost to Abigail. I went back home, sad, until I realized Coco was sleeping with me. In my bed, I was happy again. On day 14, a crow was eating my plants, even though I had a scarecrow. One of the flowers had already grown. It was a blue jazz. I also grabbed a potato. Little by little, I was getting better at watering my crops. My mission for today was to find a gift for Coco. He was so cute. I realized I didn't have any hearts with him yet. I thought about giving him a fish, so I went to the water. The first try was a total fail. The second one was just green algae. The third one, I managed to fight for a while, but I ended up losing. I was about to give up, but then I made it. I got a fish. I tried giving it to Coco, but it wasn't possible. I saved it in my chest for later. I realized I had some seeds unused, so I planted them too. The next morning, I woke up with a message. The spreading weeds had caused damage to my farm. I had to take them out with my pick. Then I had a letter from Evelyn. She was telling me that when summer comes, all the spring plants will die. I grabbed some geodes and headed into town, where I saw Leah. She asked me why I became a farmer. I told her it felt more real than living in the city. Same reason why she did too. After selling the plants, I went to the blacksmith. Turns out, I needed 5 copper bars and 2,000 coins to upgrade any tool. Wasn't sure what to do with the slime. I tried giving it to Abigail, but she didn't take it well. I tried to buy even more seeds, but I ran out of space in my inventory. Since I was out of energy, I went for a walk to explore, grabbed a forageable on the beach, and also found out I could go through the town's trash. Made quite a mess. On day 16, I kept reorganizing my house, trying to make it symmetrical, but it was impossible. It bothered me a lot. I decided to take the TV out, since I didn't like the way it looked. Having done that, I gave Coco some water and petted him, although I still didn't have a heart. Next, I realized that I could move the scarecrow by hitting it, so I moved it closer to my plants. It was already 9 p.m. when I finished with the farm, so I went into town to see if anything was open. There was a mission on the board. Maru needed a potato. The next day, I grabbed one and went running to her house, but her place wasn't open. I had to wait, soaking wet, until I finally got inside. However, I wasn't able to enter her room. I knocked on the door with my axe, my pickaxe, everything, but she didn't answer. I waited under the rain, in the house, in the hallway, even in the kitchen. She still didn't want to see me. I had no friends after all. But then, she came out. Maru loved the gift. I even got my first heart with her. With that done, I went to the mines and took the elevator to level 5, destroying every monster I found. I kept going down and slaying all my enemies, until reaching level 10, where I found a big chest with leather boots. They gave me more defense and immunity. I also realized I managed to kill 10 slimes, which will allow me to enter the guild tomorrow, but for the moment, I managed to get home, before passing out on the floor. On day 18, I went to see the man with the eye patch, Marlon. He sold a variety of weapons and equipment, blades, work boots, and more. I bought the femur, which did more damage than my sword. I also met with Gil. He wasn't very nice. I saw on the town's board that it was Pam's birthday. There was also a job request from Harvey. He needed a herring. Right after, I went to the saloon to give Pam a birthday gift. Turns out, she also wasn't nice. Before finishing the day, I grabbed all the forageables I came across. That At night, I leveled up foraging. The next morning was full of beautiful petals again. Before doing anything, I gave Coco some water and some cuddles. I got half a heart. Lots of plants were up to grab. With the plants watered, I read a message from Jody. She was looking for a cauliflower. I headed to the shop. But then, someone arrived, a man named Morris. He was handing out JojaMart coupons, 50% off. Everyone started grabbing them and leaving the store. Poor Pierre. The good news, I had enough money to buy a backpack. This was so much better. At one point, I saw little hermit Linus going through the trash. Someone thought there were raccoons and asked me to scare them away. Linus apologized to me, said he was looking out for food. I said there was nothing to be ashamed of. He was glad. When I left, Linus searched through the trash again and got caught. But this time, George offered him some food. By now, I had won hearts with 4 different people. I was making progress. That night, I reached level 2 farming, unlocking tons of stuff, including a sprinkler. To build it, I needed 1 bar of copper and 1 of iron. I then crafted a couple of snacks, a chest, and a sign, with the name Coco's Farm. Finally, I had all the items for the spring crops bundle. Completing it gave me some rewards, including a fertilizer. Not only that, I also unlocked the boiler room. The blacksmith bundle needed copper, iron, and gold bars. While working on my farm, I came across something, a letter from my grandpa, telling me to wait for his return in the 3rd year. On day 21, I found the bookseller. It had some really interesting books, like learning to walk faster or even gaining experience in different skills. I went back to the farm to plant all the seeds. I had so much work to do that I ate a couple of snacks to keep going. I even set up some torches to light up the night. Going to sleep, I reached level 3 in foraging. The next morning, I had a message from Robin. She was sorry for making jokes about my farm and told me that she could expand my home if I gave her materials and money. After cutting trees for a while, I managed to reach 300 pieces of wood. With this, I was able to repair the bridge at the beach. This let me access a new area. It was really nice. There were several corals to pick up and even a wooden pier to walk on. I sat on the fisherman's bench, listening to the sound of the waves and wondering, did I manage to get better, or was I still the same as when I arrived? On day 23, I finally got my first full heart with Coco, and also a message. Tomorrow was gonna be the flower dance. I needed to find a partner to participate. I took care of the farm, but today's mission was looking for my dance partner. Maru was my first friend, but Jody was also a good option. I gave her a bean, and she loved it. She said it made her day special. For some reason, we were all the girls together in the same place. It was the perfect moment to make friends. I talked to them, wondering if something was going to happen. I sat down on a chair and they started exercising. They were giving it all. It was an aerobics class. I just sat there watching. I wanted to join, but they didn't let me, so I had to leave. I was afraid to be alone for the dance. I talked to Alex. He told me I was pale and had to sunbathe, and he even invited me to the beach in bikini. Wow. Finally, the day of the flower dance was here. After wearing everything, I headed there. It was time to find a partner. First, I asked Leah, but she turned me down. Next was Elliot, who also turned me down. No problem. My good friend Maru will never fail me. She also rejected me. Penny? No, no one. Not a single person wanted to dance with me. They started without me. Why? I came back home at night without a partner, without friends. I sat staring at the wall, listening to the fireplace. Coco was the only one that made everything worthwhile. Thank you, Coco. You are the only friend I have. Now it was me and my cat against the world. I was done trying to make friends. My mission from here on out was to become a legendary farmer. Look at this parsnip. This is for you, Leah, for turning me down. To get my anger out, I went to the caves. There, I found a horrible new bug. I kept going down, level after level, fighting, imagining the face of all the people who reject me. I kept killing bug after bug, reaching level 15. But I wasn't done. I went to the next one, and that was a mistake. A strange green fog appeared, and 2 horrible flies came at me. I quickly escaped to the floor downstairs, realizing it was quite late. I decided to go back home. At least I got some training done. That night, I leveled up my combat skill. The next day, I checked the items I grabbed at the caves and wore my new shirt. After taking care of the farm and doing some fishing, I went through Emily's garbage, and she saw me, but I didn't care. I was mad at everybody. Even Leah told me it was simple to make friends with the trees. Wow. And so I had reached the end of spring. I wonder if nobody like me, why help them? Maybe I should join JojaMart. What do you think? Summer arrived, and at the same time, All my plants died. Not only that, but I got a letter saying someone mugged me. Everything was getting worse. Thankfully, my dad sent me some money. I needed to distract myself, so I went to the saloon to have a beer. I even tried the arcade. But I lost again. All that was left was to look at my farm. Sad. But I wasn't going to give up. With the little energy and money I had, I bought the cheapest seat and started working from zero. I even put up a fence. We are making progress. The next day, I got a letter from Mayor Lewis asking me to find his purple shorts. Discreetly. Weird. I went looking around town to investigate. I checked the trash cans, searched the beach, but nothing. So I focused on handing gifts to people. I was still mad about the dance. It seems things were improving. I managed to get one heart with 5 people. Day 33 was pouring rain, so I decided to visit Marnie's house. Her place was really lovely. If I wanted to adopt chickens from her, I needed to build some coops first. While I was looking around her room, I found Mayor Louis' purple shorts. What were they doing there? There's something more going on here. Unfortunately, I couldn't go in because I wasn't friends with Marnie. I walked out shocked. Keeping up with the bundles, I found some grapes next to Maru's house. That completed the summer foraging bundle. As a reward, I got 30 summer seeds. The next day, the rain still wouldn't stop, but my crops were ready to harvest. I planted my new seeds and kept putting up fences. I tried to go deeper into the mines, but it didn't last long. A slime almost killed me. I spotted some worms sticking out of the ground. They had a lost book. Now the library collection had expanded. I also ran into the mayor. I avoided asking about his shorts, so I just stared at him really hard until he walked away. I kept foraging on the beach, and later I found an excavator shirt on my farm. What do you think? Do you like it? At this point, my goal was to make more money, so I could grow my farm. One way to do so was fishing, but it didn't go great. I only caught a broken CD and some algae. With the little energy I had left, I planted some new seeds. I was giving it everything. Every day I worked, fished, and went into the mines until I was exhausted. Thankfully, Coco was waiting for me, sleeping on my bed. "I'll do this for you, Coco!" Little by little, I was earning a bit more money, and every now and then, I gave a few gifts when I could. At one point, I found Mayor Lewis with a machine in his house. He told me about a new program to promote the spirit of community in town. If you helped out, you could get a prize ticket to exchange it for rewards. Lewis was worried people would only care about the prizes, but I told him I was doing it to help. Yeah, sure. Just in time, I noticed on the calendar that tomorrow was going to be Maru's birthday. Time to prepare a gift for her. The next morning, I got a letter from Mayor Lewis saying the Pelican Town Luau was coming up on the beach. I had to bring something to contribute. The problem was, I sold everything I had. I opened my chest looking for a gift. I decided on a tulip. She loved it. Maru was really thankful. My crops kept growing. The bad news was, it took me more time and energy to water all of it. I ended up going to an event with nothing to contribute. The tables were full of food, and the entire town was there. I went up to Emily to dance, but she ignored me. I then went up to Haley, but she said no. Abigail, no, not again, no! Finally, I went up to Marnie. She said that if I put something in the soup, it would get mixing. Let's see if they like a little spice. On day 40, my first flower grew. I focused on reinvesting every cent into more seeds, so much that I was left with just $1. I worked so hard on my farm that I reached foraging level 5. This time, I could choose my specialty. I picked Forester to have a 25% higher chance for trees to drop extra bulb. I kept working non-stop, harvesting, buying, planning, chopping, until on day 43, a green rain started falling. It was incredible. There were exotic trees and new plants everywhere. I even ran into Demetrius wearing a strange suit, doing some kind of research. This time, I managed to push a little deeper into the caves, eating hot peppers to keep my energy up, until a bunch of flies attacked me. My sword wasn't strong enough. They surrounded me, and I had to run. My farm was starting to take shape. My new big problem was that I had way too much to water. It was time to make a sprinkler. I had a copper bar, but I still needed get an iron bar, and for that, I had to survive the mines, which meant getting a better sword. I was short on money for that, so I went to do some fishing. Maybe if I sold enough fish, I could afford a better weapon. I also make sure to give Marnie gifts constantly. I needed to become her friend so I could get into her room and steal the shorts. While I was fishing on the beach, Willie showed up. He stood behind me, really close. It was uncomfortable, so I moved to another spot, far away from him. Unfortunately, I only got a broken CD and trash. Definitely not my best day, so I went to relax at the salon. Luckily, Marnie was happy to see me. I also say hi to Shane, who once again was rude. I gave him a gift anyway, and then I saw him smile for the first time. Was this a miracle? On day 46, my farm was full of hot peppers, and I sold everything. I kept fishing, gifting stuff to Marnie, and fishing again. My consistency was paying off. I managed to catch 11 snappers, reaching fishing level 2. On day 48, the annual trout derby started. It was packed with people. The goal was to catch a golden tag, to trade for a prize. I ended up winning a tent kit, a bucket hat, and a new achievement. I kept fishing all the way until midnight, reaching level 3. The next morning, I saw a letter from my dad. He said he was proud of me, and he sent me money my grandpa left me. I will not give up. I kept fishing like crazy. I got so many things, including some mystery boxes. One of them had a fancy ring. It increased knockback by 10%. That was super useful for the mines. It looked really cute on me. After those intense fishing days, I decided to take a break. I went to the farthest place I could remember, one I still hadn't explored, the railroad tracks. There, I found a spa. It had lockers and showers. I put on a bikini. I went into the pool. Luckily, it was completely empty, so I started swimming. It was so relaxing, I almost fell asleep. Best of all, my energy refilled. I was definitely going to come back here more often. When I went to bed that night, a message said, mystery boxes can now be found. On day 51, I already had 3 hearts with Maru, but what surprised me was that I had a heart with Shane. No joke. Still, the friendship I care about the most was with Coco, who already had over 3 hearts. We were basically besties. With the money I earned from fishing and selling my crops, I could finally buy a better sword. With that, I managed to go down several more levels in the mines, and I could finally face the flies. I last longer this time. On day 53, I had a letter from George asking for a hot pepper to help his knee. I found his house on a map and brought it to him. He said I took too long. I kept working, going to the spa, and catching new fish, leveling up even more. On day 55, I got a letter from Demetrius saying there was going to be an event at the beach. The moonlight jellies will be passing by Pelican Town. It sounded nice. Mayor Louis launched a boat with lights. Everything went dark, and the sea filled with the moonlight jellies. It was beautiful. They glow in the darkness. The glow of summer has faded now, and the moonlight jellies carry on toward the great unknown. Finally, I left some copper bars melting. I went to sleep. Summer was officially over. I was amazed with the colors this season. It felt like I was in a movie. I went to buy every new seed I could and planted them one after another. I also made more chests. With the autumn wind in the background, there were pretty leaves flying around. I also started noticing how my farm was growing. Robin gave me 50 pieces of wood, and Marnie asked me for amaranth. If I did that, maybe she finally let me into her room. With the wood, I could decorate the farm. I made space for new seeds. It was looking really cute. I kept exploring. Behind Georgia Mart, I found something, but I couldn't reach it because it was blocked off. To get through, I needed to chop a log, but for that, I needed to upgrade my axe. The next day, I saw a giant mushroom among the trees. When I cut it down, it dropped a few little red mushrooms. The problem is, I got stuck trying to get out. It was dark, and I had no energy left. I ate one of those mushrooms, but it ended up making me sick, and I passed out. I slept until 12, waking up with a mushroom on my head. On day 62, Demetrius was at my door. He wanted to set up my farm's cave to attract new species, and in return, I could keep whatever it produced. I decided to go with bats, because they could drop fruit. When I went into the cave, it was really spooky. There were bats everywhere. Finally, I went to the mines. This time, I gave it all. I made it farther than ever. I had to fight flies and even a slimy rock. I don't know how I survived. But I kept going until I reached level 20, where there was a chest. Inside, there was a small steel sword. That was my win for today. I walked back home in the rain, feeling like a hero. That night, something weird happened. A fairy flew over the farm and sprinkled some strange magical dust. On day 63, someone anonymous wrote to me. They said my farm will be featured in the next Stardew Valley newspaper. My farm? In a newspaper? Wow! I couldn't believe it. The first pumpkins had grown. There were were really beautiful. On my way to Clint's, I found a mystery box with coffee mugs inside. It felt like things were finally going well. I went into the mines, drinking the new coffee, which gave me tons of energy. I finally reached level 25. The next day, I brought the amaranth to Marnie. That finally led me into her room. The mayor shorts were still there. I left quietly, so Marnie wouldn't notice. When I returned them to Louis, he tried to avoid talking about it. He asked me to keep the secret. I can't believe it. Anyways, during my expedition, I found a monster book. This time, it took me a while to find the stairs to go down. I ended up unlocking the elevator to level 30, but I passed out on the way back. On day 65, I had a new letter. It seems I had a week to prepare for the Stardew Valley fair. I had to bring 9 items that show off my best talents. I went to pick up my watering can at Clint's. I had left it there for an upgrade, but he said it still wasn't ready, so I had no way to water my crops. I spent the rest of the day fishing on the beach. Thankfully, it didn't take long. Once I had my new can, I gave it a try. It was much better. I could water 3 plants at once. Still, I needed a sprinkler, which meant iron ore. I prepped some field snacks and torches to be ready for my expedition. While I was in level 32, I heard a deafening noise and wings flapping, and while I was looking for my sword, something attacked me. It was a bat. I got really scared, but I managed to beat it. I used a torch to light the stairs and reach level 35. On day 68, I was saying hi to Coco when I got a message that told me he loved me. I have 5 hearts with him now. Coco, you're my best friend! I am so happy! My mission for iron ore continued. On level 36, I had to fight 2 stall golems and multiple bats, attacking me from all angles. I took them one by one. Sadly, I couldn't make it to level 40. I was falling asleep. Then I tried to sleep at Robin's, but I only made it to the door, passing out on the floor. I wasn't going to give up, so I went to fight the golems once more, finally reaching the next elevator. I even got a slingshot. On day 72, the Stardew Valley fair began. The whole town was here, and there were tents with different games. I tried a bunch, but I failed to win any prizes. I ended up leaving the place. Fortunately, the sadness didn't last long. I finally was able to make sprinklers, but I wanted more, so I went back to the mines to get more iron. I ran into some new enemies called dust sprites. They were hard to kill, but I managed to reach the next elevator. Leveling up Combat 2. Over the next few days, I focused on working the farm, watering, planting, harvesting, and going deeper into the mines. I even made it to level 50, where there was a chest with some town robots. Thanks to my trips, I had a ton of geodes to crack open, which left me with many items to donate to the museum. As a reward, I got a starfruit seeds, which I could plant only in the summer. Next, I completed the fall crops bundle, and I got a bee house, unlocking another bundle. This one was to repair the bus. I needed money for that. I also completed the fall foraging bundle, earning new seeds. I kept taking care of my plants and decorated a little too, fishing in between and going to the spa, of course. On day 83, the big moment arrived. I went to Robin's and upgraded my house. I only needed to wait for her to build it. That night, I went to another festival. It was the end of fall. Marlon was there with some skeletons, tables full of food, and even a stand selling decorations. I also saw a maze where I found Harvey hiding. I ran into hands coming out of the ground and even a broken TV. There was a fountain too, and a path with spiders. Farther in, I found a sign with a question mark. Tried to push through a leafy wall and discovered I could enter the cave. I walked through and found a chest. It had a golden pumpkin. I went home to sell it and went to bed. The next day, I went to the mines early. I fought ghosts, slimes, and more dust sprites. I finally reached level 55 and unlocked the next elevator. And just like that, winter began. It looked magical. Everything was covered in snow. It was so beautiful. Robin kept working on my house. The problem with this season was that I couldn't plant anything, or so I thought. The next day, my house was finished. It was much bigger. It had a kitchen and a fridge. I rearranged some furniture to use the new space, and then went fishing. Thanks to that, I leveled up and chose a new profession path. It was time to upgrade my weapon, so I went to Marlon's shop and bought a Templar's blade. It was much stronger. With it, I beat the cave monsters much quicker and reached level 60. I liked upgrading my house so much that I went to Robin's to see what else I could build. I ended up choosing a fish pond. Also, thanks to donating more things to the museum, I got a piece of furniture for my house. This was starting to feel more like my own home. While my fish pond was being built, I went to the mines and unlocking more elevators. When I got back, Robin was still working non-stop. She was so busy she didn't even say hi. Finally, on day 90, the work was done. I was so happy I ended up giving gifts to everyone I ran into. I even went to the community center to complete the winter foraging bundle. And I got 30 winter seeds. I ordered them one by one. The next morning, I got a letter from Mayor Lewis. It said tomorrow will be the Festival of Ice. There will be snowmen, ice sculptures, and even an ice fishing competition. I didn't stop there. I went to Robin's to build more things. I decided to build a coop so I could adopt chickens. I went to the mines to get some iron ore for Clint. And then, I kept improving my farm, putting up a scarecrow, building a stone fence, placing torches, and laying down a stone path. On day 92, I went to the festival. There were sculptures, igloos, and a frozen lake. I bought 2 dishes to survive better in the mines. I also asked Louis about the contest. The goal was to catch as many fish as possible in 2 minutes. The competition was not easy. At first, I managed to catch 2 fish, but then my luck ran out. I tried switching holes, but the seconds kept ticking down. Until time was up. Willy won. Wow. What a surprise. It was still fun though. Back home, I watered my plants while Robin built my coop. I also reached level 70 of the mines, where I found a chest with a master slingshot. I was getting so deep that I even found skeletons. Here is where I realized I could build my own staircases. I used them to avoid the monsters, reaching level 75 easily. I even learned how to use bombs this time. I stood my ground against the skeletons, which were throwing bombs at me. I managed to reach level 80, where I got some firewalker boots. On day 95, I realized I had completely forgotten about my journal. I had tons of rewards from the quests I completed. The coop was ready. I went to Marnie as quickly as possible and adopted a chicken. Her name was Kiki. She was a tiny, adorable chick. I made sure to give her plenty of food. The next day, I had a letter from Brasmodius asking me for void essence. Also, the Squid Fest event had begun. It was packed with people. You could win prizes. I tried, but it wasn't that easy. I could only fish up sardines. It got difficult, and I was almost out of energy. I gave up. On day 97, I went straight to the community center and paid 10,000 coins to keep repairing the bus. I only needed 25,000 more to finish it. Then I completed the geologist bundle, earning an Omni Geo. With all the work I done, I felt like a better fisher and a better explorer in the mines, but I still needed to improve as a farmer, so I went to Clint's to upgrade my axe. I needed 5 copper bars and 2,000 coins. I went back to the farm to grab the void essence and brought it to Rasmodius. Got a good pay in return. I kept going down in the mines, leveling up, even finding new creatures. One of them looked like a mask, and it shot lightning at me. Then I had to defeat a metal monster. I was running out of health, but I managed to reach level 90, where I got an obsidian edge. Finally, I went to the beach, where the night market had started. There were a lot of boats. I went up to a stand offering free coffee. I picked one and went into some kind of submarine. I paid to go down, reaching the bottom. Then the hatch opened, and I was able to fish. I caught something and got a new achievement. Cool. On day 100, something strange happened in the mines. On level 93, there was a creepy red fog, and the place started filling up with bats. I beat them all and kept going down. I was about to reach level 100. The night market was still going, so I grabbed more free coffee. I also explored a boat I hadn't seen before. This one was intense. A curtain opened, and a mermaid started singing. Mermaids were all over, and then suddenly the curtain closed. I was so overstimulated that I started decorating my farm at night. The next morning, my copper axe was ready. I went behind Jojamar to break the lock at last and opened the box. I discovered a prize ticket. I could redeem this at Mayor Lewis' house. I went to the mines, anxious to reach level 100. I mined as much as I could and fought all the monsters, but there were so many I couldn't do it. Linus woke me up. I had to drink some coffee to make it back home quickly. The defeat hit me hard. I took a few days to rest. I donated things to the museum and got a couple new items. Fishing was kind of relaxing now. I spent a good amount of time resting until it was time. One last try. I went to the mines, determined, mined a ton of rocks and fought the monsters. I didn't stop until I hit my goal. And so I finally reached level 100. This chest was special. When I opened it, it was magical. It contained a star drop. It tastes like lemon for some reason. It was my favorite fruit. Not only that, it also increased my max energy. I also reached combat level 5, becoming a fighter, and so the Feast of Winter Star arrived. There were a lot of gifts and decorations. I completely forgot I had to prepare a secret gift for Elliot. I ended up giving him a peach. Turns out Emily was my secret gift giver. She gave me a ruby. That was really nice of her. Over the next days, I kept fishing non-stop, day and night. I also went to the community center, completed the blacksmith's bundle, and I got a furnace. Suddenly, the place filled with those strange creatures, the Junimals. They disappeared until only one was left. I started following it. It spoke in a strange language, and then it pulled out a star and hung it on the wall. I went back home completely shocked, and it didn't end there. That night, the Junimals repaired the minecart. The next day, it was spring again. I officially completed 1 year as a farmer. I couldn't believe it. Everything was full of fasces. There was no time to relax. I got to work. I think I'm going to miss winter. I was really happy with my progress as a fisher. I started my journey barely able to catch a single fish, and now I was level 7. I still had one thing I wanted to do: get enough money to repair the bus. I was so curious to see what would happen, so I kept doing what I do best. Yes, you guessed it, fishing. At the same time, I remember I could keep going down in the mines. Level 100 was on the bottom, so I kept descending little by little, fishing and fighting, opening chests, until finally I managed to complete the boss bundle, unlocking a crystallarium. And after fighting an endless amount of monsters and throwing bombs everywhere, I reached the final level of the mines, floor 120, where I found a school key. No idea what it's for, but it looked important. I couldn't believe it. I made it all the way to the end. That same night, the Junimals repaired the bus. I went straight to see where it would take me.